Good morning, Dan.
Hi, Andrew.
How's everything there?
Oh, it's just peachy.
Yeah.
It's a thrill a minute, even when guys aren't competing, there's still competition outside of the venues here. So it's the U.S. against the Brazilian authorities here. So I don't know if any medals are going to be handed out here.
I mean, what are people saying? Have you ever seen anything like this?
It's just crazy because it's one of those where when you're just waiting for somebody to say, oh, you know what, it's all a big mistake, or, we have video that will back up this story or that story. There seems to be this hole in the story, or more holes in the story, but then you wonder, like, why would Lochte, what would he gain from it? What is he hiding? Did they go someplace? Like, why even make up a story in the first place? I guess when you go back to the Olympic Village, or because you got back so late, they were drunk. It's bizarre. And it's like you can't even get the guys to tell the story straight. All I know is somebody puts a gun to my forehead. I'm not going to misremember to say, well, he didn't actually put a gun to my forehead. Either he did or he didn't. So was there embellishment there? And then all of a sudden these guys realize just how big this international incident is. It keeps growing, and obviously we haven't heard the end of this.
No, we haven't, and this, is probably what Lochte will now be remembered for until it somehow gets sorted out, unless he turns out to have been telling the truth. But what I don't get, Dan, is if let's say the whole thing's fake, and you're going to try to hide behind, you're going to try to own the story, right? You're going to try to say this, you're going to keep telling the lie. Why would you go on camera and do it? You issue a statement, you get out of the country. To actually stand on that beach with Billy Bush and double down at that point, I mean, you're lost.
I know. There's a lot of speechless people here who get paid to talk, and they're just not quite sure what happened. And the fact that he then got a hold of Matt Lauer and then tripled down. So you double down with Billy Bush, and then you let Matt know that you're standing by your story. I feel bad for these guys who were pulled off the plane, their passports confiscated, and I guess they can extradite Lochte if it's a misdemeanor, then they can't. But if he's charged with a crime here, and I don't know. It's just bizarre.
It's nuts. This is
Crazy.
Dan actually calling into his own show. Dan Patrick from Rio. I'm Andrew Siciliano sitting in for Dan, who's back here on Tuesday. Are you going to the 200 tonight?
No, I have to work, but I got to see him run in London in the 200. So I know that feeling, and I tell anybody who gets the opportunity to go to make sure they do, because it is one of the more fascinating sights. And it's strange when you tell people that you're watching somebody run for 20 seconds, but when you're there in person to watch somebody run, it's different than watching on TV. You just realize how fast he is, and TV doesn't do it justice. But yeah, that'll be a big moment. Big moment.
Usain Bolt going for the sweep. He did the 100 already, and that was 9-something, the greatest 9 seconds in sports, and he's going for the 200-meter gold. And last night, you saw, Dan, he's pulling up, jogging, and laughing at the end.
Yeah.
I don't think, look, all the 100s and 200s, these scores are always beaten. It's just people get faster, people get bigger, people get stronger. But we're going to look back and look at this guy and just laugh because he was laughing. To have a guy this skilled and be able to laugh all the while he's dominating his competition.
It's amazing. And, Ross Tucker, who was filling in, brought it up that, is he showing up these other athletes? And he's an entertainer. If you've ever been around Usain Bolt, he is an entertainer. He's very engaging. He knows the crowd is there to see him. He ran, what was it, last week? He showed up just for trials or just to run a heat. And there were probably 40,000 people in there, and it felt like when he was done, there were 4,000 people left in there. They came to see him. He knows that. He's a showman, and he's doing this for his own benefit. And if you have a problem with it, then beat him. That's the way I look at it. This is who he is. This is who he is, and if you want to stop it, then beat him. And nobody's come close.
Where do you think, because we had this debate on NFL Network, or they did, I wasn't there, where do you think, or how do you think, the best runners of the 40 in the NFL would do against Bolt in a 40?
Well, I mean, Gatlin beats him in the 60. It's just, the problem is the race is 100. You would probably have a couple of guys, like Darryl Green would probably beat him in the 40, at his peak. Dion. I mean, those guys, you're paid to be quick. Bolt's paid to be fast, and there's a difference there. So that top-end speed, it takes him a while to get there, but when he gets there, then, the game over. It's almost like Bo Jackson had that top-end speed. Herschel Walker. Once they got to a certain point, then they were gone. But Joey Galloway, these guys who run 4.1 40s, I think that they would beat Bolt in just 40 yards. After that, then he would wave by.
Dan Patrick calling into his own show, hosting afternoons on NBC from Rio. Other than Usain Bolt tonight, what else are you looking forward to seeing?
I don't
Basketball?
even know.
Basketball, Spain tomorrow night?
Yeah, because Spain will give them a pretty good go. In Australia, it might, line up that they meet Australia for the gold medal, and Australia is not afraid of them either, already playing them. But women's basketball team's been fun to watch. It's interesting to see how you can get those players. I think that their roster is better built than the men's roster. Without Steph Curry and LeBron James, obviously that hurts. I just don't think they have the right point guards there on that U.S. team. But, Gino got players who play well together, even though you do have these stars. That's what the U.S. men's team has not had. But they looked great last night. But that's against an Argentina team that's old. It's the same team from 2004 that beat them. They're now in their late 30s, and Ginobili's case, he's 40. So not much of a surprise with what happened last night.
All right, Dan, as I sit here in the man cave in your very comfortable chair, and I thank you, sir, and I look around at the bobbleheads and the autographs and the jerseys and all the framed items, if I were to move one thing or to take one thing, would you notice it? Do you know this room up and down? Is it memorized?
Yeah. I'm pretty anal about that. With if somebody's been in the chair, or the Dennetts will take something, move something, and then sometimes they'll do it just to mess with me. But it may not happen immediately. But by the time I look around, I'll be able to tell who did what, where, when.
What's
how.
the one thing that you would notice first that isn't here? Is there one?
Probably the Lou Holtz doll.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite things.
This one right here.
Because people go, "Who is that?" And I go, "That's Lou Holtz when he was at Arkansas." And a listener sent that in, so I'd probably notice that, or the little statue of me that's, or Darius Rucker's Grammy.
Okay, I wouldn't take a Grammy.
So probably those things I would notice.
All right. Should I steal something to see if you'd notice? No? Seaton's shaking his head no.
I wouldn't recommend it, dude.
Keep in mind we do have cameras in there, Andrew.
This is true. And when Go ahead.
We have surveillance cameras there, so just in case I don't notice, Big Brother will.
When I say steal, I of course I'm meaning borrow. Borrow with the intention of returning said item. It wouldn't actually be stealing. I wouldn't try to get on the plane and take it home. Hopefully I'd bring it back. Dan, you still have your passport, yes?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Keep it locked up.
Yes.
And be safe. And we'll watch you this afternoon. And thank you again for letting me sit in this chair and not steal anything that you know of.
Thanks for filling in. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Dan Patrick. Talk to you later, sir.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.